What is going on, people? Welcome to the No Ball Games YouTube channel. I am your host, Jay Jackson, and match day 8 took place yesterday. Let's review it. Let's get straight into it. First game of the day, Sweden versus Slovakia. This was a bit of a snooze fest. Picked up a little bit in the second half, but the first half was drab. Super dry. What a boring game of football. Very cagey from both teams. I guess both teams still felt like they could progress. Sweden, after picking up a point against Spain, felt like they didn't perhaps need to go all-out attack. The only bright spark of the game were flashes of brilliance from Isak, who again had another highlightable game. He's being scouted by Liverpool, perhaps as a replacement for Bobby Firmino. Like, this Isak looks incredible. The way he moves the ball forward, he's quite tall, and the way he's taking on players, he's very agile, very quick feet. He's looking like a real problem. He almost scored a wonder solo goal. If that had gone in, I think that might have took some beating and could have been goal of the tournament. So fantastic performance from Isak, doing what he could to arouse some of the viewers, but it was a very, very dull game of football, we have to admit. Slovakia would be astounded to go through in this tournament. They don't have a lot of hopes of going through. Sweden picked up their good point against Spain, and it was a tentative start, but the game did finally open up. It took a penalty to do so. Forsberg with the penalty, low and hard, converted, and that was the only thing that was going to separate these two teams, it seemed. Both teams went close later on in the second half, but no one could really battle it out, and this group is shaping up. We don't know what's going to happen. Spain plays today, and who knows how that's going to end up, but Slovakia could still be in it. You would say Sweden are looking very comfortable, and Sweden will probably be favourites to progress. It's going to be interesting to see the result of Spain and Poland, who takes charge in that group. Spain have got a lot to do. I think they're far from the great team they once were. Sweden could end up finishing top of this group. Slovakia, let's see how it pans out for them. Second game of the day, Group D, includes the teams England will be facing and have faced. Czech Republic versus Croatia. Czech Republic got off to a great start, winning their first game against Scotland. Schick with the wonder goal. This game wasn't as boring as the first game we witnessed. Czech Republic created a few chances. They went close. It took quite a controversial penalty decision to be given for the score to break the deadlock, and you feel a little bit for Dejan Lovren. He goes up with Patrick Schick. You can't go up with your arms by your side. You have to use your arms to elevate you and to get extra height. And in the process, he must have clipped Schick, who clipped Schick, which sounds like a crazy expression. Schick obviously busted his nose, was in a bit of pain there, but he managed to soldier on and convert a penalty with a blood-streaming nose. Blood all over the place. They come out for the second half, and clearly Perisic just had enough. He had enough. Perisic brought the ball from the far side, had options to his left, could have squared it, said, nah, I'm drilling this home. And what a drill it was. Some people say the keeper could have done better. I think it was hit at such a pace that the keeper just had no chance whatsoever. So, fantastic finish from Perisic. Croatia needed some of that quality. They've just been lacking. They've got some great names on that team sheet, and they haven't been able to score any goals, which is unfortunate for that team and their supporters. Finally, Croatia register a goal, register a point, make their mark in Group D, and it was probably favourable for England that Czech Republic didn't win that game also, so there is an opportunity for England to win in their next game and to go top of the group. 1-1, you would say, fair result there. Croatia not completely out of it. They'll play Scotland in their last game, and they could go through. They could end up going through if England managed to beat Czech Republic and Croatia managed to beat Scotland. Then they might be able to go through on a goal difference. So let's see how that one pans out. And last but not least, the oldest fixture in football, England versus Scotland. The rain was heaving down, which they said was an omen for Scotland, but I think that's also an omen for England. It rains here all the time. Well, what can we say about this game? Disappointing game to watch as an England fan. Encouraging, prideful performance if you were a Scottish fan. Largely unchanged lineup from Gareth Southgate. He brings in Reece James instead of Kieran Trippier. Pretty much everyone else is the same. And they just were not at the races. Scotland definitely had the tenacity. The chances that England did create were clear-cut chances, to be fair. John Stones going very close, hitting the post from a Mason Mount corner. It just seemed like they didn't really believe that they were the better team, because it wasn't evident. And how much of it you look at is the strategy and the tactics that were chosen yesterday by Gareth Southgate, or just the players not really being up to scratch and not really having the right physicality for that kind of game. It was very physical game. There was a lot of tackles flying in. There was a lot of running to do. And maybe some of those players have played a long season and that was just not the game they were looking forward to. It really is difficult to single out some England performances that were good. We don't know what is going on with Harry Kane at the moment. I do feel like perhaps Harry Kane sort of alerting everyone that he would like to move on, and he is perhaps open to talking to other clubs, has perhaps unsettled him a bit. Maybe he's not really feeling as calm as he usually is, but he also just looks to be lacking some physicality there. Maybe he's just not 100% fit. He was injured for some parts of the season last year, still managed to be top goal scorer and top assist. A difficult one with Harry Kane. I mean, do you drop a man of Harry Kane's stature? You would say no. You would say Harry Kane is probably the only undroppable, but that's 2 games. He really hasn't got into the game at all. He hasn't created any of those moments that we know from Harry Kane. He looks isolated there. He can't seem to get involved in the play. I don't know what his positioning, what kind of positions he's taking up, but it just seems to be like it's not ticking. And then the midfield, Phil Foden is doing what he can. I feel like you can't really say much about Phil Foden's performance because he needs to feed off the whole team. He does what he can. He tries to skip past some players. He's got great touches, great vision, and I feel like perhaps it was a bit harsh to take him off towards the end of the second half, but he has played a lot of football. He did play in the Champions League final also, so maybe just a bit of squad rotation is always a good thing. Mason Mount was okay. He did miss a chance, but he was a brat. He did want the ball. He did seem to have a bit of urgency, which you didn't see from some of the other players in that England team. Raheem Sterling, again, okay. You do feel like if he was going to get a clear-cut chance, he might have put it away, but he just didn't quite time his runs correctly and didn't take up positions where he can get in behind the Scottish defence. I wasn't very impressed with Declan Rice and Calvin Phillips' performance yesterday. I mean, having those 2 sort of defensive-minded players in the first game against Croatia, Calvin Phillips seemed to bomb forward quite a lot, and it didn't seem to happen at all in the game against the Scots. I think Calvin Phillips had a really poor performance. He rarely won the ball. He did nothing like what he did against Croatia. Maybe he just the occasion might have got to him, just as I think it did to all those players. They kind of all gave in an odd performance, not a very characteristic performance from any of those England players. I'd say the only player who really shone was Pickford, to be honest with you. Made some great saves, commanded the ball, commanded the box whenever there was a corner or free kick, which I've always grown to be a bit sceptical of when Pickford needs to pluck a ball out of the air, because he's not the tallest goalkeeper, but he did do a great job yesterday, and I think Pickford was probably our best player. Mings and Stones did fairly decent in preventing any clear-cut chances, but Scotland probably should have done and dusted that game. I've spoke about England. Now I need to pay credit to Scotland, who gave a spirited performance. Billy Gilmore. It was the Scottish Xavi yesterday. There was no Yorkshire Perlo. It was all about the Scottish Xavi yesterday. Great at collecting the ball and making a key pass with urgency. Quick, urgent passes from Billy Gilmore, creating things, passing to people in space. And there was urgency. I remember the commentators saying he looked a bit knackered after the first 10-15 minutes. The game really did have such a tempo in the beginning. It looked like Billy Gilmore was really struggling, but he caught his second wind and he really started to control a lot of what Scotland did in that midfield. He was the best midfielder on the pitch yesterday, and it was a great performance by Billy Gilmore, but it was just a really poor performance from the England midfielders. Hats off to Billy Gilmore. Fantastic performance from the Scottish Xavi. Che Adams also provided something completely different for Scotland this time round, which they didn't have against the Czech Republic. He provided a focal point. He brought the ball down well. He was able to bring other players into play. He created so many great chances, great movement, and he really should have scored. He didn't have his shooting boots on at all yesterday. I think he'll feel very unfortunate not to have scored. He definitely had some clear-cut chances he would love to have put away, but positive signs for Scotland with that Che Adams moving up front and bringing in Billy Gilmour in midfield. I definitely feel like that's how they should field for their next game against the Croatians. But Scotland could be very pleased with their performance yesterday. England need to go back to the drawing board. It's just hard to pinpoint what went wrong for England. Was it squad selection? You would say no. Everyone who played in that game played, relatively well against Croatia in the first game. So why such a drop-off in performance? I feel like the Scottish supporters and the build-up of the game and the pressure of not losing that game and how embarrassing it would be to lose that game probably got to England, and they felt like they perhaps couldn't play with the freedom they usually do. This is all in hindsight, I think I was quite confident looking at the team. Jack Grealish came on. Moments where you felt like England had a bit more creativity, but again, he didn't really do much. Like, England didn't look that much better with him or Rashford on. A few rotations for the next game, but you don't want to rotate it too much because you're not sure what you're going to get from some of the players that haven't played yet, and we don't know if they're going to be quite at the pace of this tournament. You have to ease players in slowly. So I think Jack Grealish will start. I think that Rashford might get a game ahead of Raheem Sterling in the next one. And Harry Kane, I feel like when he has these moments, he does normally seem to come back with a vengeance. So guys, that's the video. Thank you for watching. It was a disappointing day if you were an England fan. Great day if you were a Scottish fan. I'll see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. I'll see you guys in a bit.